The Library of Alexandria stands as one of the most enigmatic and awe-inspiring institutions of the ancient world. Conceived during the reign of Ptolemy II Philadelphus in the 3rd century BCE, it was a symbol of human ambition to gather all knowledge in one place. This monumental library purportedly contained hundreds of thousands of scrolls and manuscripts from across the ancient world, ranging from mathematical treatises of the Greeks to mystical texts from India, astronomical records of Babylon, and the vast cultural lore of Egypt. The library's creation marked an unprecedented era of intellectual collaboration, yet its ultimate fate has been shrouded in mystery, speculation, and tragedy. For centuries, historians and archaeologists have puzzled over what truly became of this unparalleled repository of knowledge. Was it consumed by fire, as popular stories claim, or did it suffer a more gradual decline, losing its treasures bit by bit to war, neglect, and censorship? The truth remains elusive, but the tantalizing fragments of evidence tell a story as compelling as any ancient myth. The library's precise location within the city of Alexandria is itself a mystery. Most scholars believe it was situated within the royal quarter, a sprawling complex near the harbor that housed the ruling Ptolemaic dynasty. Some suggest that the library was part of the Grand Serapeum, a temple dedicated to the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis, while others argue it existed as a network of smaller repositories scattered throughout the city. Its architecture, though unconfirmed, has been imagined as a marvel of ancient engineering, with vast halls illuminated by natural light, intricate shelving systems, and spaces for scholars to study, debate, and transcribe texts. The library's collection was said to include works from Homer, Herodotus, and Plato, as well as records of older, now lost civilizations. Its custodians, driven by the Ptolemaic king's ambition, scoured the known world for texts, often copying or outright seizing manuscripts from ships that docked in Alexandria's port. This aggressive acquisition policy, while controversial, contributed to the library's legendary status. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria is one of history's greatest tragedies. However, pinpointing the exact event or events responsible for its demise is fraught with challenges. One popular account attributes its destruction to Julius Caesar, who reportedly set fire to the Alexandrian docks during his siege of the city in 48 BCE. Ancient sources differ on whether this fire spread to the library itself, with some suggesting that only a portion of the collection was lost. Other theories place the blame on later events, such as the decree of Theophilus, the Christian patriarch of Alexandria, in the late 4th century CE. Theophilus, acting on orders from Emperor Theodosius I, oversaw the dismantling of pagan temples, including the Serapeum. If the library's remnants were housed there, they may have been destroyed during this period of religious conflict. Yet another account points to the Arab conquest of Alexandria in 641 CE, when Caliph Omar allegedly ordered the burning of the library's contents, declaring that any knowledge contrary to the Quran was unnecessary and any knowledge in agreement was redundant. Modern historians, however, question the authenticity of this story, suggesting it may have been a later invention. Despite the uncertainty surrounding its destruction, the loss of the Library of Alexandria has profound implications for our understanding of history. What secrets did those scrolls hold? Some believe the library contained records of advanced ancient technologies, such as methods for constructing the pyramids or harnessing renewable energy. Others speculate that it housed medical knowledge centuries ahead of its time, including treatments for diseases that still plague humanity. The possibility that the library contained alternative historical narratives, lost literary masterpieces, or insights into ancient philosophies adds to its allure. Each scroll represented a voice from the past, a thread in the tapestry of human civilization. Their loss is not merely the loss of knowledge, but the loss of perspective, of ideas that could have shaped the course of history in ways we can only imagine. The mystery of the Library of Alexandria does not end with its destruction. Some scholars argue that fragments of its collection survived, scattered across the ancient world. The Great Library was not the only repository of knowledge in Alexandria. The daughter library, housed within the Serapeum, may have preserved portions of the main collection. Similarly, texts may have been smuggled out by scholars fleeing the city's repeated upheavals. In the centuries following the library's fall, centers of learning such as Constantinople, Baghdad, and Cordoba became new beacons of intellectual activity, and it is tempting to wonder if some of Alexandria's lost treasures found their way to these places. The discovery of ancient texts in modern times, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Antikythera mechanism, fuels hope that other remnants of this legendary collection might still lie hidden, waiting to be uncovered. The legacy of the Library of Alexandria endures in the collective imagination as a symbol of both human achievement and the fragility of knowledge. It serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of war, censorship, and neglect in the preservation of cultural heritage. At the same time, it inspires modern efforts to create new repositories of knowledge, such as digital archives and open-access databases, which aim to democratize information and safeguard it against similar catastrophes. The library's story also raises philosophical questions. What does it mean to preserve knowledge? How do we decide which knowledge is worth preserving, and at what cost? These questions are as relevant today as they were in antiquity, particularly in an era of rapid technological advancement and increasing threats to freedom of information. In popular culture, the Library of Alexandria has become a powerful metaphor for hidden wisdom and untapped potential. It appears in countless novels, films, and television series, often as a mystical place where secrets of the universe are guarded. The idea that the library's knowledge could change the world if rediscovered is a recurring theme, reflecting our collective longing for a deeper understanding of our past and our place in the cosmos. The mystery of the library invites us to imagine not only what was lost, but also what might still be found. Could there be hidden vaults beneath Alexandria's modern streets, concealing scrolls that survived the centuries? Might future archaeological discoveries rewrite our understanding of the library's history and its impact on the ancient world? These questions keep the legend alive, drawing adventurers, scholars, and dreamers to the shores of Alexandria in search of answers. The Library of Alexandria represents the pinnacle of ancient intellectual ambition and the depths of human loss. Its story is a reminder of both the potential and the vulnerability of human civilization. As we piece together the fragments of its history, we are reminded that the pursuit of knowledge is a journey, one that requires not only curiosity and creativity but also vigilance and resilience. The mystery of the library's fate is not merely an ancient puzzle but an enduring challenge to preserve and expand the legacy of human thought. The Library of Alexandria was not merely a collection of scrolls and manuscripts, but an architectural and organizational marvel that reflected the grandeur of its purpose. While no physical remains of the library have been definitively identified, historical descriptions and archaeological evidence allow us to envision a structure that was as innovative as it was monumental. The library was likely part of Alexandria's royal quarter, a sprawling complex near the bustling harbor. This strategic location underscored its role as a gateway to knowledge from all corners of the ancient world. Some scholars suggest the library was housed within the Mouseion, a grand temple-like institution dedicated to the Muses, while others believe it functioned as a separate, standalone building or a network of repositories scattered across the city. Regardless of its precise location, the library was designed to inspire awe and facilitate the unending pursuit of wisdom. Imagining its architecture, one might envision vast halls illuminated by natural light streaming through intricately designed windows or skylights. The walls were likely lined with towering wooden shelves, each meticulously arranged to store scrolls and codices. These scrolls were organized using an early cataloging system, reportedly developed by Callimachus of Cyrene, a renowned scholar who created the Penox, or Tables of Knowledge. This catalog divided the library's holdings into various subjects, such as poetry, history, mathematics, and natural sciences, with detailed annotations for each work. Such an organizational feat was unprecedented in the ancient world and underscores the library's dual role as a repository and an intellectual laboratory. The heart of the library was its collection, a treasure trove of human knowledge gathered from across the known world. Estimates of the collection's size vary, with some sources claiming it housed between 40,000 and 400,000 scrolls at its peak, though these numbers remain speculative. The diversity of the library's holdings was equally remarkable, encompassing works in multiple languages and disciplines. Greek texts formed the core of the collection, including the epics of Homer, the histories of Herodotus, and the philosophical treatises of Plato and Aristotle. However, the library also sought to preserve the knowledge of other cultures, amassing texts in Egyptian, Babylonian, Hebrew, Sanskrit, and Phoenician. These works ranged from mathematical treatises and medical manuals to astronomical charts and literary masterpieces. One of the library's most ambitious projects was its effort to translate texts into Greek, thereby making them accessible to the Hellenistic world. This monumental task involved teams of translators and scholars working diligently to render foreign works into the lingua franca of the time. The translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek, known as the Septuagint, is one of the most famous examples of this endeavor. According to tradition, 72 Jewish scholars were invited to Alexandria to produce this translation, which became a cornerstone of Judeo-Christian history. Similarly, works from India, such as texts on yoga and medicine, were reportedly translated, revealing an early appreciation for the interconnectedness of human knowledge. The library's collection also included rare and unique works, some of which have since been lost to history. Among them were the records of ancient civilizations, including the astronomical observations of the Babylonians, the medical knowledge of the Egyptians, and the philosophical musings of the Persians. These texts not only preserved the achievements of past cultures, but also provided a foundation for new discoveries. For instance, the works of earlier mathematicians and astronomers likely informed the groundbreaking contributions of Alexandria's own scholars, such as Euclid and Eratosthenes. The Ptolemaic rulers spared no effort in acquiring these treasures. Their agents traveled far and wide, visiting temples, private collections, and other centers of learning to obtain texts. Ships docking at Alexandria's harbor were famously searched for written materials, which were either copied and returned or, in some accounts, confiscated outright. This aggressive acquisition policy, while criticized by some as cultural imperialism, was driven by the Ptolemies' belief that the library should encompass all knowledge. This ambition led to extraordinary acts, such as borrowing the official copies of Greek tragedies from Athens under the pretense of copying them, only to keep the originals and return duplicates of exceptional quality. The library was not merely a passive repository, but an active center of scholarship and innovation. The scholars who worked there had access to its vast resources and were encouraged to explore, analyze, and synthesize knowledge across disciplines. This intellectual environment fostered groundbreaking advancements, many of which continue to influence modern thought. Eratosthenes, for example, used the library's resources to calculate the Earth's circumference with remarkable precision, while Herophilus conducted pioneering research in anatomy and physiology. The library also supported the development of literary criticism, with scholars analyzing and editing texts to produce definitive versions of classic works. The library's architectural and organizational sophistication was matched by the cultural richness of its surroundings. Alexandria itself was a vibrant metropolis, home to a diverse population that included Greeks, Egyptians, Jews, and other peoples from across the Mediterranean and beyond. This cultural melting pot provided a fertile ground for intellectual exchange and collaboration, enabling the library to fulfill its mission as a global center of learning. The city's thriving economy, fueled by trade and industry, supported the library's ambitious projects, ensuring that it remained a beacon of knowledge for centuries. Despite its achievements, the library was not immune to the challenges of its time. Its reliance on papyrus scrolls, a fragile medium, made the collection vulnerable to physical degradation. Efforts to copy and preserve text were ongoing, but the sheer scale of the collection posed logistical challenges. Moreover, the library's association with the Ptolemaic dynasty made it a target during periods of political turmoil and war. These vulnerabilities would ultimately contribute to its decline, but during its zenith, the Library of Alexandria represented the pinnacle of human intellectual achievement. In summary, the architecture and collections of the Library of Alexandria were a testament to the Ptolemies' ambition to create a repository of universal knowledge. Its innovative design, comprehensive cataloging system, and diverse holdings made it a wonder of the ancient world, while its efforts to translate and preserve texts laid the groundwork for future generations of scholars. The library's legacy as a center of learning and innovation continues to inspire, reminding us of the enduring power of knowledge to transcend cultural and temporal boundaries. The The Library of Alexandria was not merely a physical repository of scrolls and manuscripts, but also a thriving intellectual center that attracted some of the greatest minds of the ancient world. The scholars who worked at the library were not just passive custodians of knowledge, but active participants in the creation and expansion of human understanding. These intellectuals came from various cultural backgrounds, from Greece and Egypt to Babylon, Persia, and India, creating a melting pot of ideas that shaped the future of science, mathematics, literature, and philosophy. The library fostered a collaborative environment where scholars could engage with one another, debate, and refine their ideas, leading to groundbreaking discoveries and innovations that would influence Western thought for centuries to come. The most famous of these scholars was Euclid, the father of geometry. His work, Elements, compiled and systematized the mathematical knowledge of his time and became the foundational text for teaching geometry for over 2,000 years. Euclid's methodical approach to geometry, relying on axioms and theorems, revolutionized the study of mathematics and established a rigorous framework for logical reasoning that influenced not only mathematics but also the philosophy of logic and science. His contributions to the Library of Alexandria's reputation as a hub of mathematical learning were immeasurable, and his influence extended far beyond the Hellenistic period, shaping the mathematical traditions of both the Islamic Golden Age and the European Renaissance. Another prominent figure associated with the library was Eratosthenes, a polymath who made pioneering contributions in geography, mathematics, and astronomy. Eratosthenes is perhaps best known for calculating the Earth's circumference with remarkable accuracy. Using the angles of the sun's rays at two different locations in Egypt, he was able to estimate the Earth's circumference within a few thousand kilometers of its true value. His work in geography also led to the development of the first system of latitude and longitude, a tool that would later become indispensable for navigation. Eratosthenes' innovations laid the groundwork for future exploration and scientific inquiry, demonstrating the power of empirical observation and measurement. Herophilus, another scholar at the Library of Alexandria, made revolutionary contributions to the field of medicine, particularly in the study of anatomy and physiology. Herophilus is often credited with being the first to systematically dissect human bodies in the pursuit of understanding the structure of the human body. His detailed studies of the nervous system, the circulatory system, and the digestive system laid the foundation for the field of neurology and advanced the understanding of human biology. Herophilus' work at the library also marked a significant shift in the practice of medicine, as it was based on direct observation and experimentation, contrasting with the more theoretical and speculative approaches that were common in ancient medicine. Archimedes, one of the most celebrated figures of ancient science, is often associated with the Library of Alexandria, though some scholars dispute whether he worked there directly. Regardless, his influence on the library's intellectual environment was profound. Archimedes made groundbreaking contributions to mathematics, physics, and engineering, particularly in the field of mechanics. His famous principle of buoyancy, known as Archimedes' principle, revolutionized the understanding of fluid dynamics. Archimedes also invented a variety of machines, including the screw pump, which was used for raising water, and war machines designed to defend the city of Syracuse during its siege by the Romans. His work laid the foundation for modern engineering and physics, and his discoveries continue to resonate in the fields of mechanics and applied mathematics. The library also attracted notable philosophers, including the Stoic philosopher Zeno of Citium and the Platonist philosopher Ammonius Saccas. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, developed a philosophy that emphasized virtue, self-control, and rationality as the path to achieving happiness and tranquility. His teachings had a profound influence on the development of Western philosophy and ethics. Ammonius Saccas, the teacher of the philosopher Plotinus, played a key role in the development of Neoplatonism, a philosophical system that sought to reconcile the ideas of Plato with other schools of thought. Neoplatonism would go on to influence Christian theology and the intellectual tradition of the late antiquity. The scholars of Alexandria were also instrumental in the preservation and transmission of knowledge from other ancient civilizations. For example, the library contained vast collections of Egyptian and Babylonian astronomical texts, which were carefully studied and integrated into the work of Alexandrian astronomers like Hipparchus. The library's vast collection of Persian, Indian, and Hebrew texts also contributed to the cross-cultural exchange of ideas, which led to the synthesis of knowledge across different traditions. This intellectual melting pot ensured that the Library of Alexandria was not only a repository of Greek learning, but also a center of global scholarship that transcended national and cultural boundaries. The work of these scholars was not confined to the walls of the library, but extended into the broader intellectual and cultural life of Alexandria and beyond. Scholars from the library would frequently travel to other parts of the Mediterranean and the Near East, spreading their knowledge and engaging with other intellectual centers. The influence of the library reached as far as Rome, where many Roman scholars, including Cicero and Varro, were inspired by the works that had been preserved and studied at Alexandria. The library's legacy also extended to the Islamic world, where scholars during the Islamic Golden Age translated many of the texts from the Library of Alexandria into Arabic, preserving them for future generations. The intellectual legacy of the Library of Alexandria was not only limited to the scholars who worked there, but also extended to the students and disciples who studied under them. The library functioned as a center of learning that drew students from all over the Mediterranean world. These students, upon completing their studies, would return to their homelands and pass on the knowledge they had acquired at Alexandria. In this way, the library's influence spread across the ancient world and laid the foundation for future generations of scholars. The library became a symbol of intellectual excellence and the pursuit of knowledge, inspiring countless generations of thinkers, scientists, and philosophers. However, the contributions of the scholars at the Library of Alexandria were not without controversy. As the library grew in influence, it became a target for those who saw its wealth of knowledge as a threat to their own power and authority. Religious and political forces, both within and outside of Egypt, sought to control the dissemination of knowledge, often leading to the suppression or destruction of certain texts. This conflict between knowledge and power would eventually contribute to the library's decline and eventual destruction. Despite this, the legacy of the scholars of Alexandria endures to this day, as their contributions to science, mathematics, and philosophy continue to shape modern thought. The Library of Alexandria, once a beacon of knowledge and intellectual achievement, faced a slow but inevitable decline, a process that spanned several centuries and was influenced by a variety of political, religious, and social forces. The loss of the library is one of history's greatest tragedies, not merely because it represented a vast wealth of accumulated human knowledge, but because it symbolized the fragility of intellectual institutions in the face of societal upheavals. Understanding the causes and events that led to the library's destruction is a complex task, as no single incident can account for its eventual fate. Instead, the library's demise was the result of a series of events, both gradual and catastrophic, that together led to the loss of a cultural treasure of unparalleled significance. One of the earliest and most significant blows to the Library of Alexandria occurred during the Roman conquest of Egypt in 30 BCE, when the city of Alexandria, along with its intellectual institutions, fell under Roman control. During the reign of Julius Caesar, the city was embroiled in civil strife as Caesar's forces laid siege to Alexandria in an effort to defeat the forces of Cleopatra's brother, Ptolemy XIII. During this siege, the Roman forces set fire to the city's docks, and while some ancient sources suggest that the fire spread to the library, destroying a significant portion of its collection, the details remain unclear. The damage caused by Caesar's actions may have been severe, but whether the library itself was completely destroyed in this fire, or whether only part of its collection was lost, is still a matter of debate. What is certain, however, is that the Library of Alexandria was irreparably harmed by the events surrounding the siege. The library's destruction did not end with the Roman conquest, and in fact, several subsequent events contributed to the gradual erosion of its collections and influence. The rise of Christianity in the Eastern Roman Empire, particularly during the 4th century CE, marked a turning point in the history of the library. As Christianity became the dominant religious and political force in the region, pagan institutions such as the Library of Alexandria came under increasing pressure. One of the key figures associated with the library's decline during this period was Theophilus, the Christian patriarch of Alexandria, who ordered the destruction of pagan temples in the city in 391 CE. During this time, the Serapeum, a temple dedicated to the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis and believed by some to house the remnants of the Library of Alexandria, was destroyed, likely resulting in the loss of many remaining texts. Theophilus's actions were part of a broader effort to suppress paganism and replace the old religious institutions with Christian ones, and they marked the beginning of the end for the library's surviving remnants. While Theophilus's actions were catastrophic for the library, some scholars argue that the true death knell for the Library of Alexandria came during the reign of Emperor Theodosius I in the late 4th century. In 391 CE, Theodosius issued an edict that officially banned pagan practices and closed pagan temples across the empire. This decree was part of his larger effort to establish Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire and to eliminate all vestiges of paganism. With this official condemnation of pagan beliefs came the destruction of intellectual institutions associated with the old order, and the library, in whatever form it still existed, fell victim to this sweeping purge. Though it is unclear whether the library was directly targeted by Theodosius's edict, the destruction of the Serapeum and other pagan sites suggests that any surviving texts or manuscripts housed in these places would have been lost or destroyed during this period. The decline of the Library of Alexandria was not solely the result of religious and political changes. It also occurred against the backdrop of broader societal shifts, including the decline of intellectual pursuits in the face of increasing social instability. During the 5th and 6th centuries CE, the Roman Empire, now divided into the Eastern and Western Roman Empires, was plagued by internal strife, economic instability, and external threats. The city of Alexandria, once a thriving center of learning, began to experience social and political fragmentation. As trade routes were disrupted and the infrastructure of the city began to decay, the intellectual atmosphere of Alexandria began to wane. The focus on military and political concerns, coupled with the gradual loss of interest in scientific and philosophical inquiry, contributed to the library's deterioration. Another major event that may have contributed to the library's decline was the Arab conquest of Alexandria in 641 CE. According to some accounts, when the Muslim forces, led by Amr ibn al-As, captured the city, Caliph Omar allegedly ordered the burning of the remaining scrolls and manuscripts in the library. According to the most widely cited version of this story, Omar declared that the knowledge contained in the library was either redundant, because it confirmed what was already written in the Quran, or unnecessary, as it contradicted the teachings of Islam. However, the veracity of this claim is highly debated. Some modern historians dismiss the story as a later invention, arguing that there is no contemporary evidence to support the claim that the library was destroyed during the Arab conquest. Other historians suggest that the story may be based on a conflation of events, and that the library's destruction may have been a gradual process, with the collection deteriorating over time due to neglect rather than a single catastrophic event. Despite the uncertainties surrounding the precise details of its destruction, the loss of the Library of Alexandria is undeniable. The library's disappearance marked the end of an era of intellectual flourishing in the ancient Mediterranean and the beginning of a dark period in which much of the knowledge of the classical world was lost or forgotten. The destruction of the library was not merely the loss of books and scrolls, but the severing of a vital intellectual link between the ancient past and future generations. The works of Euclid, Archimedes, Herophilus, and countless other scholars, along with the texts they studied and preserved, vanished, taking with them irreplaceable knowledge of mathematics, science, medicine, philosophy, and history. The loss of the Library of Alexandria also symbolizes the vulnerability of knowledge itself. It serves as a cautionary tale about the fragility of intellectual institutions and the dangers of cultural and political upheaval. The library's destruction was not merely an event of historical interest, but a profound loss that affected the development of human civilization. What knowledge might have been lost with the destruction of the library? What breakthroughs in science and philosophy might have been delayed or prevented by its loss? These questions continue to haunt historians, scholars, and thinkers to this day. The story of the Library of Alexandria is not only one of intellectual achievement, but also one of tragic loss, a reminder of the fragile nature of human knowledge and the forces that threaten to erase it. The mystery surrounding the Library of Alexandria has spurred centuries of fascination and speculation, with historians, archaeologists, and adventurers seeking to uncover its lost treasures. Despite the widespread belief that the library was destroyed in antiquity, a persistent hope endures that fragments of its vast collection may still lie hidden beneath the sands of time, waiting to be rediscovered. The idea that ancient texts, long thought to be lost, might still exist today is a tantalizing prospect for scholars and treasure hunters alike. The quest to recover these lost works has become part of a modern intellectual adventure, with ongoing research and exploration uncovering new clues and prompting debates about the fate of the library's manuscripts. Yet, despite the allure of uncovering hidden knowledge, the search for the lost Library of Alexandria presents a complex challenge, involving not only physical exploration but also philosophical questions about the preservation and accessibility of knowledge in the modern world. Over the centuries, the legend of the Library of Alexandria has inspired countless expeditions and archaeological investigations. From the earliest efforts to locate the library's remains to contemporary excavations in the streets and harbor of Alexandria, many have attempted to find physical traces of the library itself. One of the most widely held beliefs is that the library was located within the royal quarter of Alexandria, near the harbor, where the Ptolemaic dynasty resided. According to this theory, the library may have been part of a larger intellectual and cultural complex that also housed the museum, an institution dedicated to the study of philosophy, science, and the arts. However, the exact location of the library remains elusive, and no definitive evidence has yet been uncovered to pinpoint its precise whereabouts. Some researchers suggest that the library may have been part of the Serapeum, a grand temple dedicated to the god Serapis, which was also destroyed in the late 4th century CE. The Serapeum, which housed a smaller daughter library, may have been a secondary location for the library's holdings, especially after the main collection was damaged or lost. If this theory is correct, then the destruction of the Serapeum could have marked the final blow for the remnants of the Library of Alexandria, as many of its surviving manuscripts may have been stored there. Excavations of the Serapeum site have uncovered artifacts that suggest it was indeed a significant cultural and religious center, but no conclusive evidence of surviving texts or manuscripts has been found. Some scholars believe that the final traces of the library were erased during the Christianization of Alexandria, while others hold out hope that further excavation could reveal hidden fragments. The search for the lost manuscripts of the Library of Alexandria has also extended to other parts of the Mediterranean and beyond. During the early centuries of the Common Era, Alexandria was a cosmopolitan center of trade, and its scholars were known to travel far and wide in search of new texts. It is possible that some of the library's manuscripts were smuggled out of the city or taken by scholars who fled during times of political upheaval. In the centuries that followed the library's decline, many of these texts may have found their way to other intellectual centers in the ancient world, such as Constantinople, Baghdad, and even Rome. If such texts were preserved in other libraries or private collections, they could provide valuable clues to the library's contents. In the modern era, the discovery of ancient manuscripts in unexpected places, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 1940s, has fueled speculation that lost text from Alexandria could still be hidden in remote locations or private collections, waiting to be uncovered. One of the most significant discoveries that has reignited interest in the search for lost knowledge is the Antikythera mechanism, a complex ancient device that was discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera in 1901. The mechanism, often described as the world's first analog computer, was an astronomical instrument used to predict celestial events such as eclipses. The sophistication of the device suggests that ancient Greek scientists were capable of creating highly advanced technology, and its discovery has led to renewed interest in the technological knowledge that may have been preserved at the Library of Alexandria. The fact that such advanced knowledge was lost in antiquity raises important questions about what other scientific and technological discoveries may have been contained in the library's collection, and whether any of these secrets might still be uncovered. The search for the lost knowledge of Alexandria is not limited to physical exploration. In recent years, digital technology has become a key tool in the quest to preserve and rediscover ancient texts. Modern scholars have used advanced imaging techniques, such as multispectral scanning and high-resolution photography, to examine ancient manuscripts and papyri that have been damaged or obscured over time. These technologies have revealed hidden texts and allowed scholars to read manuscripts that were previously illegible. In some cases, these techniques have provided new insights into the content of ancient works, some of which may have been lost from the historical record. While these discoveries are exciting, they also raise important ethical questions about the preservation of knowledge. What should be done with the knowledge that has been uncovered? How should ancient texts be made accessible to the public? And who decides what knowledge is worth preserving? These questions are as relevant today as they were in antiquity, as modern society grapples with issues of intellectual property, censorship, and the democratization of information. In addition to technological advances, the search for lost knowledge is also tied to philosophical debates about the nature of knowledge itself. The Library of Alexandria was not just a collection of books. It was a symbol of humanity's quest to understand the world and its place within it. As modern scholars seek to uncover the library's lost works, they are confronted with profound questions about the nature of intellectual history. What role did the library play in the development of Western thought? What knowledge did it preserve, and what has been lost forever? Some scholars argue that the loss of the library represents a rupture in the intellectual continuity of the ancient world, while others contend that the knowledge of Alexandria was never truly lost but was absorbed into later traditions. The search for the library's lost knowledge is not just about recovering ancient texts. It is about understanding the legacy of the library and its influence on the development of human thought. The continued fascination with the Library of Alexandria also reflects the broader human desire to uncover lost wisdom and forgotten histories. Throughout history, there have been many attempts to recover lost civilizations, from the ancient ruins of Mesopotamia to the fabled city of Atlantis. The search for the lost knowledge of Alexandria taps into this deep-seated yearning to recover the past and unlock its secrets. For many, the idea that the library's knowledge could still be found, hidden in forgotten corners of the world, is a powerful and compelling notion. The legacy of the Library of Alexandria transcends the boundaries of time and space, continuing to resonate with us today as a powerful symbol of intellectual ambition, human curiosity, and the preservation of knowledge. Despite the tragic loss of the library's vast collections, its influence can be seen in countless ways throughout history. The library was not merely a repository of ancient texts. It was a catalyst for the exchange of ideas, a center for scientific inquiry, and a beacon of human achievement. Its destruction, while catastrophic, sparked a centuries-long dialogue about the importance of safeguarding intellectual and cultural heritage for future generations. In the centuries following the library's decline, its legacy endured, shaping the course of human thought and the development of institutions dedicated to the preservation and dissemination of knowledge. One of the most enduring aspects of the Library of Alexandria's legacy is its role in fostering intellectual collaboration and the free exchange of ideas. In its prime, the library was a gathering place for scholars from across the ancient world who came to Alexandria to study, debate, and share their knowledge. The library's collection, which included works on astronomy, mathematics, medicine, philosophy, and many other subjects, became a focal point for intellectual inquiry. Scholars such as Euclid, Archimedes, Herophilus, and Galen, among many others, were associated with the library, contributing to the development of their respective fields. This spirit of collaboration and the pursuit of knowledge without borders became a model for future centers of learning. The concept of the universal library envisioned by the Ptolemaic rulers of Egypt, that all human knowledge should be gathered in one place, was revolutionary for its time. The Library of Alexandria's ambition to collect and preserve the intellectual achievements of the ancient world laid the groundwork for the establishment of later libraries and institutions dedicated to the preservation of knowledge. Among the most notable of these were the libraries of Rome, the Great Library of Constantinople, and the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Each of these institutions sought to continue the work begun in Alexandria, collecting, translating, and transmitting the intellectual legacy of the ancient world to future generations. In this way, the loss of the Library of Alexandria did not mark the end of its intellectual mission, but rather the beginning of a new phase in the history of knowledge. In the medieval period, the legacy of the Library of Alexandria was carried forward by Islamic scholars, who played a crucial role in preserving and expanding upon the knowledge of the ancient Greeks, Romans, and Egyptians. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars in cities such as Baghdad, Cordoba, and Cairo translated Greek philosophical texts into Arabic, preserving works by Aristotle, Plato, and other classical philosophers. These texts were then studied, commented upon, and further developed by Muslim thinkers who made groundbreaking contributions to fields such as mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and chemistry. The work of these scholars helped lay the foundation for the European Renaissance, during which many of these texts were reintroduced to the West, sparking a new era of scientific discovery and intellectual achievement. The Renaissance itself was profoundly influenced by the intellectual spirit of the Library of Alexandria. The rediscovery of classical Greek and Roman texts, many of which had been preserved by Islamic scholars, played a pivotal role in the intellectual revolution of the 14th and 15th centuries. Thinkers such as Leonardo da Vinci, Galileo Galilei, and Nicholas Copernicus drew upon the knowledge of the ancients to develop new theories and ideas that would transform science and philosophy. The Renaissance marked a return to the ideals of the ancient world, and its emphasis on humanism, inquiry, and the pursuit of knowledge echoed the intellectual climate fostered by the Library of Alexandria. The impact of the Library of Alexandria can also be seen in the development of modern scientific institutions. In the 17th century, the establishment of scientific academies and societies, such as the Royal Society in England and the Académie des Sciences in France, marked a new phase in the history of scientific collaboration and the dissemination of knowledge. These institutions were founded on the principles of open inquiry and the sharing of ideas, principles that were embodied in the Library of Alexandria. The establishment of modern universities, libraries, and research institutions is another example of how the legacy of Alexandria has endured, as these institutions continue to serve as centers for learning, innovation, and the preservation of human knowledge. In the modern era, the legacy of the Library of Alexandria has taken on new forms with the rise of digital technology. The digital age has brought about an explosion of information, and with it, new opportunities and challenges for the preservation of knowledge. The creation of digital libraries, such as Google Books and Project Gutenberg, has made vast amounts of information accessible to people around the world. These digital repositories are a modern echo of the Library of Alexandria, offering a platform for the free exchange of ideas and the democratization of knowledge. In this sense, the digital age has expanded upon the library's original mission, making knowledge more accessible than ever before while also raising new questions about the preservation, ownership, and distribution of information. The modern world has also seen the rise of open access initiatives, which seek to make academic research and scholarly publications freely available to all. These initiatives are a direct response to the challenges of information inequality and the rising costs of academic publishing. The idea that knowledge should be freely shared and accessible to anyone, regardless of their location or financial status, reflects the ideals of the Library of Alexandria. By removing the barriers to information access, open access movements are continuing the work of Alexandria scholars who sought to make knowledge available to all who sought it. The ongoing exploration of the Library of Alexandria's legacy also invites us to reflect on the role of knowledge in shaping our future. In an era of rapid technological change, artificial intelligence, and global challenges such as climate change and pandemics, the preservation and dissemination of knowledge have never been more important. The Library of Alexandria's story serves as a powerful reminder of the need to safeguard our intellectual and cultural heritage while also expanding the frontiers of human knowledge. As we face the challenges of the 21st century, the lessons of Alexandria remain relevant, reminding us of the importance of intellectual curiosity, the free exchange of ideas, and the preservation of our shared human legacy.